What's up, guys? Welcome back to Milliken Fishing. Very exciting video today. I've gotten a ton of questions lately about what baits I like to throw during the summer, so decided to break this up into a two-part series. Today I'm going to tell you my top 5 baits to throw in 10 feet of water or less. So if you're shallow fishing, you're fishing from the bank a ton, you're fishing a lot of ponds, this is going to be the video for you, absolutely. Next one, we're going to touch back on the top 5 deep fishing baits. If you're an offshore guy, you want to explore fishing where you can't see some structure, brush piles, rock piles, offshore, stuff like that. We'll get to that in the next video, but stay tuned for a super exciting video today. Like I said, top 5 baits. I'm going to give those to you. I'm going to tell you why I like those baits, and I'm going to tell you the equipment I like to throw those on. Let's get into it. All right, bait number 1. The old Topwater Frog. You know, this is a bait. It's impossible for me not to put this in the top spot for summer fishing. It's awesome first thing in the morning. It's awesome in the middle of the day, like I talked about in a couple videos ago at that pond. Whenever you find a shade line or super thick grass, those fish get up under there, especially the big ones. You can catch small fish on this. You can catch the biggest bass in the lake on this bait. I just flat out love throwing a Topwater Frog. And I'll tell you right now, I don't have any specific brand I rely 100% on. If you watch a lot of my tournament fishing videos or any of my vlogs at all, you'll realize I use a lot of different types of frogs. You know, I really like this this Copper's frog. It's kind of a wider, obviously a regular body style frog. I like popping frogs. The Sprout popping frog is really good. I like some of the Teckle frogs. You know, those are just like the old Reaction Innovation Swamp Donkey frog. I love a lot of different types of frogs, and when I'm throwing these, I'm always throwing these around shallow ambush points, so next to a laydown, obviously in grass. Anytime you get around a shade line, something like that. And I'm always 100% of the time throwing this on 65 or 80 pound braid, nothing less. The rod I like for this is a 7/6 heavy frog rod. I like that longer rod. It's got a little bit more of a parabolic action. That way when you set into the hook, it's a really heavy action, but it loads real nice. So you get that first penetration of the hook with that stiffer tip. And then you can just horse into the boat. I've been using the Speed Demon reel from Cast King. You guys know that. I'll leave a link to everything down below. It's a 9:3-to-1 reel. It's really increased my hookup to land ratio. You know, once you get those fish hooked up, that's only half the battle with a frog. Getting them to the boat while they're wallowing around in whatever cover you just threw that by is a big deal. So that's why I like to throw this on. The frog is bait number 1 whenever I'm faced with shallow water in the summer. All right, bait number 2 I use for the summer, and these are in no specific order. I love throwing that frog, but after that, I mean, these are all 5 baits I throw almost every time, if not every time I'm up shallow fishing in the summer, and really throughout a lot of the year. But bait number 2 is the Beaver. You know, I used to be really partial to the Reaction Innovations Beaver, but like I said, I've expanded my horizons. I told you guys I really like this Missile Baits D-Bomb. I throw a couple other different types of beavers. That Slaunch bait by Magnum Baits is a cool bait for really big fish. It's a 6.5-inch beaver. But this bait on a Texas rig, if you flip it near any type of laydown, grass, docks, I love this D-Bomb around docks, you're just flat out gonna get bit. I'm fishing on a Texas rig, 4/0 straight shank hook, almost always using a 1/4 or 3/8 ounce weight, and I just go to work flipping this thing around. It has no action, or almost no action. The D-Bomb has a little bit more action than the Reaction Innovations Beaver. Those tails will kick a little bit, and it's a freaking fish catcher. You're not gonna have too many places where you can't match the color of a beaver to the conditions you're given. You know, a brighter day, I like a more translucent color. Darker day, clouds, muddier water, I like it black and blue. It's not complicated at all, but these are fish catching machines. And again, I mix up the size too. If I'm fishing around, you know, cleaner water, around grass and stuff like that, I really like this bigger beaver. I just feel like it presents a bigger bait, like a big bluegill or a big crawdad in the grass. You know, that's what bass are in there eating all the time. And I'll get a little bit better bite on this double wide bigger beaver, but just flipping anything. If you got a tough bite, if it's muddier water, if you're doing real isolated targets, I really like the smaller beaver too. You can't go wrong with them. My favorite bait to throw a beaver on is my flipping stick. Dobbins 765 Champion Flip is what I throw those all on. 20-pound fluorocarbon almost 100% of the time. Sometimes I'll bump it down to 15 or 17 if I'm fishing something not in super heavy cover or docks. But that's what I do. Straight shank flipping hook, 20-pound fluorocarbon line, 7.6 rod, and I really like a fast reel, 7:1 gear ratio or faster. I've been using the Cast King Stealth. That's been awesome. I'm gonna get a review video on that out. I wanted to use that reel a whole bunch though before I got that video out. Or, I mean, if you want to speed it up even more, if you're fishing for fish that are really taken off after they take that bait, or you want to get them moved and the hook set immediately, of course the Speed Demon is going to work great for that as well. So that's bait number 2. All right, time for bait number 3. You know, if you get around shallow grass or cover, a little bit cleaner water, so it's not really suitable for a spinner bait or something like that, or a chatterbait even, this is what I'm going with right here, the swim jig. Number 3 is the swim jig for me. This is one of my most effective fish catchers. Once again, you can do so many different things with the swim jig. You can reel it in on a straight up swim. You can crack it. A lot of guys like to shake the rod tip and makes the bait jump, but it keeps the bait in a strike zone longer if you're fishing around maybe more isolated cover, fishing lily pads, stuff like that. My favorite way to fish these is just a straight, slow crank, and then I'll pop it free of grass every once in a while. I fish around a lot of grass lines, and that is super, super deadly. These things get more bites for me than chatterbaits or spinner baits. And whenever they'll eat a moving bait, I can almost guarantee you they will eat this swim jig. I love this 6th Sense Divine swim jig. I use it in bluegill colors. You know, I use their colors. I make my own skirts. I'll fish it usually with a craw trailer, a real nice green pumpkin blue trailer. I like this net bait packet chunk trailer. All sorts of different things. So the Strike King Menace is great for when they're on a little bit smaller forage or there's a lot of pressure in the area. These are just fish catchers though. I fish these almost exclusively on 15 or 17 pound fluorocarbon and a Dobbins 735 Champion rod. Again, that rod's got a nice parabolic action, but it's got a little bit faster tip on it. So it's got, if that makes any sense, it's got kind of a fast tip. If you've used this rod, you'll know that. But it's got a little bit faster tip than some of the other Dobbins rods, but it has a nice parabolic action, so you get a nice hook set of the fish. And that's another big thing with the swim jig. You know, the hook set, you don't really have to crack them on the hook set. You can more or less lean into them, and so that's where a nice parabolic rod, almost all those bites are going to be a tick, and then the line's going to swim off to the side. You can just reel into them and lean, and that's what that rod is just great for. You can go as low as like a 6.3 reel on this because it's a moving bait, but I really like a 7.1 reel. It gives you more speed to take up line if they do swim at you or come to the side real hard or they get wrapped around some grass or something. But a swim jig, man, that's a killer summer bait. I use these all year, but summer's my favorite time to throw these. Pick some up. Again, 6th Sense Divine jig. I'll link everything down below. Is a moneymaker. All right, time for bait number 4. Number 4 for me, summer baits, top baits, is the stick worm. I'm not going to limit this and say only the Cinco. I'm going to go ahead and just call it a straight stick worm. I like one with a little bit thicker body. I feel like you get better bites and it stands out more a little bit in the water. But this is 3 different kinds of a stick worm, and the reason for that is, you know, I'm not partial to one brand or anything on this. All different types of stick baits have their applications. This is the Bass Pro Shimmy Stick. It's a lot more buoyant, but it's a thicker body. Works great on a flick shake, works great on a shaky head. This is the Yamamoto Senko. Everyone knows that is just absolutely a deadly bait on a Texas rig or a wacky rig. You can do a lot of different things with that. This is the Zoom Magnum Finesse Worm. So again, a little bit fatter body than the Finesse Worm. This guy is just deadly on a shaky head. Love to fish it on that, or if you want to fish on a wacky rig for a slower fall than a Senko, I've caught a ton of fish on that as well. You know, you can fish these around all different types of cover based on how you rig them or the type of cover that's presented to you. You know, if I'm fishing around grass or docks or wood or anything like that, I really like to throw it on a straight up Texas rig, weightless generally. If I'm fishing offshore or fishing rocks or docks or anything like that, cleaner water, I love to throw the flick shake, but you can get bit on that in muddier water. I do it all the time. Anytime you want to fish a shaky head, you know, out deep or something, this is just a killer way after you've gone through that area with a football jig or something. But even if like a little shallow rock pile or something like that, if you fish an area over, you want to go back through it, even a stretch of riprap, pull one of these guys on a little tiny light shaky head and you will mop that area up. And you can mop up areas behind other fishermen, especially in tournaments that just went through that area with moving baits or big baits. Absolutely a killer bait, the straight tail worm. All right, time for bait number 5. This is the biggest bait series of all these. Whew. the glide bait. I love to throw big baits. This one's a little bit of a wild card for me. I haven't thrown them a ton of my videos this year because we've had so much muddy water, and for whatever reason when I was at that clean lake the other day, I couldn't get a real good swim bait bite. Once I started catching them out a little bit deeper, I pretty much put the swim bait down altogether. But if you have cleaner water, so I'm talking 2 or 3 feet of visibility and greater, the glide bait is absolutely money. People want to know when you throw the glide bait. You know, these things have gotten so popular. This is a Roman-made negotiator, way too expensive. It's like 150 bucks and takes forever to get them, but worth it. Great, great bait. You don't got to spend that much money on it though to catch fish on it. Go get an S waiver from River to Sea. That's a great one. Try a couple different cheap ones. See what you like about them. See how you like to fish them, and then step up to these. These are more refined baits. They'll get a couple more bites. Some of the bigger fish get more keyed in, you know, on the way this bait turns as it glides. The more natural movements and the sharper turns a lot of times get those bigger fish to react. I like this one because it's pretty versatile. You know, you can make it do big wide glides, or you can twitch it and kind of walk it. These things shine when the water is warmer. When it's cold water below 55, 60 degrees, you can almost always do better with a lot less action, like a Huddleston or something like that. You're not going to want to bait with a whole bunch of action. You can draw fish a lot of times, but they won't commit to this glide bait. But once they spawn and they get off the spawn, this guy can be absolutely killer. It can draw fish from a long distance. You know, if you're pre-fishing in a tournament, I love to throw this bait because you can get fish to show themselves. You can see if there's big fish in an area and then come back through with that stickworm or something like that. This guy will catch them though. Go pick up some glide baits, try them out. Like I said, try some cheaper ones. It's something the fish in a lot of parts of the country, I know California gets pounded by these things. It's something that fish all over the country haven't seen a ton of, and the bigger the bait, the more draw power it has. You might not necessarily get a 2.5, 3 pound fish to come up and eat a 250 slide somewhere, like a 10-inch bait or something like that, but it is going to show you that the fish is in that spot. And if it was interested in this, if you flip a Senko or something back in there right afterwards, there's a good chance you're probably going to catch that fish. Or at least catch some in the area if there's fish in the area. Anyways, these things are just killer. I throw these things on a swim bait rod, obviously. This is a 3-ounce bait. What I like for this bait is 20 or 25 pound fluorocarbon. I like a 7-1 gear ratio for the glide baits. I know a lot of guys like a slower 6-3 or a 5-something to 1. Because it causes you to work the bait slower. Well, you can work the bait slower on a 7-1 just by turning the reel a little bit slower. But I like the ability to give it a fast turn of the reel, and it shoots the bait to the side and gives it a 180 turn a lot of times. That can be really key for triggering those bites, and especially if this bait gets real wide on a glide and the fish decides to take it on that turn, and you set the hook and this bait's over here, you got to make up that 2 or 3 feet of slack where that bait's over, where that fish just took off to before you even get a good hook into them. So it's better to me to be able to take up a little bit more line of that little bit faster reel. I would not go faster than a 7-1, but that's what I do with this guy. You know, throw these around cleaner water, grass, laydowns, jetties, man-made jetties, dams, anything where there's some type of ambush point that a bigger fish, a more isolated piece of cover that a bigger fish could be sitting on, and you will get some bigger follows, if not catch bigger fish or the biggest fish of your life. This guy is absolutely killer. Go pick some up and try them. That's all I got. Those are my 5 baits I would throw this summer for you around any type of shallow cover, less than 10 feet of water. If you can't catch them on those, I don't really know how to help you, to be honest. Go out and try them. Fish them in your waters. These baits will work all around the country and probably all over the world too. You know, if you like this video, give a thumbs up and go subscribe to Milliken Fishing. I'd really appreciate if you took the time to do that. Of course, leave a comment below as well if you want me to answer those. I try to get back to all the comments that are down there. If you got any questions about any of my rod reel setups or any other baits I like to throw, just hit me with a comment below. But like I said, I'm going to give you a rundown of the deeper baits I like to throw here in a couple days in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am out of here. Peace.